So today's question is, why are there so many Japanese terms in lean manufacturing and quality improvement? I'm Dr. Chuck Freeman. This is the Professor Chuck YouTube channel. Please hit subscribe, and if you would do me a kind favor and also hit that little alert bell icon as well, that's going to help me continue doing what I do. So I'm going to address the lean manufacturing side. To do so, I have to introduce a historical figure by the name of W. Edwards Deming. Now, Deming was born in the early 1900s. Went to school, got his education in electrical engineering, and went out and hit the field using statistics for various applications. One in particular was census work that he did for the US government during World War II. So think about the 1940s or so. Come the 1950s, post World War II, Japan was in regrowth mode. They were very focused on how do they take their country from where it was at post World War II, the devastation of that entire event, and be able to go back out onto the world stage economically. And they were looking for various ways to make that happen. Deming happened to be working in Japan with census material. So again, think post-World War II, we've got General MacArthur involved in this and helped appoint Deming to come to Japan to help with census, right, to gather information. So during this process, Deming became more familiar with the Japanese culture. He's familiar with statistics, of course, and eventually garnered an invitation from the Japanese Union of Scientists and Engineers, the JUSE. So it was during this time frame that he introduced them to some concepts that he had been working diligently on over the years. And now you've got a receptive audience for what Deming proposed, and again, with continuous improvement, with understanding processes by measuring them, he took this information to this receptive audience and they took it and ran with it. So you've got the JUSE, right, the Japanese Union of Scientists and Engineers, taking his information, and some of the applications that came out of that was one you might be familiar with, Toyota. Right, so today Toyota is known for the Toyota Production System, TPS. Put that up here. Right, I mentioned statistical process control earlier, SPC. So we have SPC, TPS. Toyota's production system was the hands-on practical application of the principles that Deming advocated for. So now, 1950s, Japan's receptive. Toyota's being one of those forerunners who take the processes and run with it. Other companies in Japan are doing the same. So as the processes developed into hands-on applications, the Japanese folks named those processes. And some of those terms are what we use and continue to use today. So Muda, one example, right? Generally it's waste, right? That's the translation for it. I'm anglicizing it. I apologize if I'm pronouncing it incorrectly, but this is how I've been trained to state the word. But Muda is the concept of waste. And in lean manufacturing, one of the key principles is finding, discovering waste, identifying it, and then eliminating. So you're going through these steps to reduce and mitigate waste. Well, Muda is that concept. And on down the line, right? On this side, I've got my 5 S's, which I'll have a whole nother video based on the 5 S's, a process to bring order to chaos. But you get the idea. Kaizen, Gemba, Jidoka, Hoshin, Kanri, all of these are elements within the lean manufacturing tool set that started in Japan and have since branched out. Really important to note, Deming advocated with his ideas here in the US as well. And unfortunately, he didn't find very many receptive folks. During the 1950s to the 1970s, early 1980s, we were experiencing huge economic advantages and booms here in the United States, lots of growth. And when you have that type of growth mentality, sometimes you're not focused on change. And in this case, the US wasn't focused on change. It wasn't until the early 80s, 1980s, when Deming's principles started to take some root here in the United States. Ford Motor Company being one of the first companies to reach out and try to embrace those concepts and apply them in their own manufacturing processes. So hopefully I've answered your question, right, in terms of why Japanese terms are integrated into the lean manufacturing mindset. I'm going to spend quite a bit of time, hopefully you'll spend that time with me, exploring these concepts as tools on how they apply to improve our processes.